All right, everybody. I got a really special guest for you today. You've probably seen him on with Grant Cohn. He's got his own Jason Aponte. Jason, I'm going to throw it to you and let people you can let people know where to find you, and then we'll get into the some of the topics.
Hey, first of all, thank you for having me, man. And I also thank you for being flexible. I know that we were supposed to do this another day, but my little one was
Yeah, no
sick,
problem.
so it was really tough to do that. So I really
No
appreciate you
problem.
being flexible, and I'm honored to be here. Anytime anybody asks, I want to make sure that I jump on anybody's show just to show some love and everything. But yeah, as far as where to find me, at Jason Aponte 2103 on Twitter, on YouTube, Jason Aponte, and Sprint Right Option Podcast, anywhere that you get any of your podcasts with Andrew Pasquini.
Awesome. So I have some topics here, but I guess we got to deal with the giant elephant in the room that was kind of made some headway before. Just it's been the topic of discussion, and that's the injury situation that was happening in minicamp. There's been a lot of talk surrounding it from different people, from different content creators, and I just wanted to know your opinion on how do you feel about the situation? Do you think it's reaching a code red, or are we overreacting? I mean, what's your take on this whole injury situation? Is Kyle to blame? This whole thing that's going on right now?
See, here's the thing, and I want to normalize this sort of statement that I'm about to say. I'm not certain, and I'm going to tell you why I'm not certain. I don't know what they're doing as far as strength and conditioning coaches. I don't know what the practices are like. So when people ask me, hey, who's to blame? I don't know. But here's the problem. Right. Kyle Shanahan is the head coach. So you have to answer these questions. And for Kyle to say, well, it just is what it is, part of the game. It is, but the 49ers have been the most injured team. And it's actually even before he got here, too. That's another thing that people kind of miss, that it's been basically since they moved to Levi's. Whether you want to say that's bad juju as far as the stadium, that's a whole other thing. But it's clearly an issue. And if it wasn't an issue, or if it wasn't something that was on the brain of the organization, they wouldn't have drafted the way that they did with so many more depth pieces at offensive line and running back.
Yep.
And they wouldn't have fired the strength and conditioning coach and bring somebody else in. Clearly, this was something that has been festering for a while. So I don't know who's to blame. Should 49er fans be panicked? I don't think they should be panicked. Concerned, for sure. Think about this. Before OTAs happened last year, the 49ers had already lost 4 or 5 people. It just really stinks that, and I hate to say this because I don't want this to come off insensitive, right? I love Tarvarius Moore. I'm hurting for Justin School, but these weren't guys that were going to be starters or slotted in impact places. So if you really think about OTAs as far as who's on track, okay, D Ford's on his way. That's good. Jalen Hurd is on his way. That's good. So I hate to sound like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. It's because of these 2 guys. It's just not that. We have to be down the middle and objective. And these guys were depth pieces. And Justin School might not have made the roster. So as of right now, should 49er fans be panicked? No. I think they should be concerned, though. And to hear Kyle Shanahan say, it's part of the game, and almost like brush it aside, like, hey, there's nothing I can do about it. You're the coach. You've got to answer for these things. Something has to change. Now, do I know what that something is? Nope. But something has to change. And I hope they figure it out soon, because it's funny. I go on streams and I'm like, hey, the 49ers are going to be fine. There's no way they can have that many injuries again, right? Right? Well, maybe.
Right?
The thing is, in 2019, they had a ton of injuries, but the thing was, it wasn't Nick Bosa, Jimmy Garoppolo. It wasn't the high-end players on this roster. So I think that's why it didn't get stated in 2019, because it wasn't the big guys. Now in 2020, it was just everybody. So yes, I think 49er fans should be concerned, but I would hold off on the panic button.
Yeah, a lot of people say it's football. I have other friends who are Niners YouTubers that say, Aaron, what do you want them to do? It's part of the game. My issue is that when you get a guy injured from standing up from a stool, it's something that concerns me big time, because that's just these guys are guys getting injured on side fields who are not doing anything, like Jalen Hurd last year. It's just really concerning. It's hard to get really amped for certain guys, or even just a team as a whole sometimes, when it's just my lingering thing in my head is, if we stay healthy. That's always the preface of everything that you say. The Niners will be really good if we stay healthy. And I'm getting really sick of having to think that way. But like you said, it was something that predated them. It was, it happened towards the end of the Harbaugh, probably the last year into the Chip Kelly or Tom Sula / Chip Kelly era. So, but yeah, man, not a good, not a good way to go into your little 45 or 40-day off before training camp starts. But who knows? Maybe that was just a blip and it's not going to be a big issue. It looks like Justin School cleared waivers, so he'll be back, I guess, on the roster, even if he even ends up making the team.
He reversed to IR. So he may make the team, but he reversed to IR. And if he was claimed, then there would be, I believe it was like a $900,000 cap relief. But he's back on the roster, at least in that way, on IR. So I don't even, if that's a silver lining, then that's probably the only thing that's your real silver lining, is that School is actually on the roster on IR, even though with a torn ACL, probably not going to play this year.
Right. And, at least they were, I feel that they were transparent in their post-draft press conference when they talked about like how they kind of adjusted the way they've been drafting, at least this year, where they started to take injuries into consideration. So they're learning. Let's just hope that, last year was the last learning curve as far as that goes. And we can start actually, like Fred Warner saying like last year was the last losing season. Let's hope that's true. Hope we stay healthy. And because I think us healthy as a team for top to bottom roster, I think we can compete in the NFC. I don't know if we're good enough to compete, say, with Tampa. But you never know, man. The season's still a couple months away, and a lot of stuff can change. Things change during the season. You never know. People on the Niners may step up and show out, and then we'll be totally wrong. So
that's another thing that I would say too for 49er fans. It's hard to say, listen, this roster when healthy, and I understand, hate saying if when healthy, but this roster top to bottom is a top 3 roster, I believe, in this league. And what people have to remember is when in June you're making your predictions for who's going to be running to the Super Bowl, all that stuff changes during the middle of the year. Injuries are going to happen to other teams as well, which are going to greatly impact how they play, obviously how they scheme things up. So it's hard to say. And that's what makes the NFL game so beautiful for me. The parity, things are going to happen. Other teams are going to have injuries. You don't pray for that, but it is what it is. It's a matter of fact. And then from there, you'll find out where this team is. So I think this team is equipped with depth to make it happen. Even though they won 6 games last year, you understand that they were in position to win many more of those games. And that's what gives me hope. That's what should give 49er fans hope. Even with second and third quarterbacks, this team was competing in games, and they largely lost games because of shooting themselves in the foot with turnovers. Nick Mullins, who is now a Philadelphia Eagle, instead of throwing 3 interceptions, just throw 1, throw 2. Instead of throwing 4. So those sort of things are fixable, I believe. And when they compete and they're able to win games with C.J. Beathard in Arizona, and that hodgepodge roster that they put together based on who was just available. Jerick McKinnon had tired legs, but they depend on him for 6 weeks, 7 weeks before things really happen. So in that regard, 49er fans, there'll be injuries, but the coaching staff is what's going to keep this afloat. The culture is what's going to keep this afloat. It will keep this team competitive. There were blowout games. Miami, that's different. We understand all those things, but other games like that, the Eagles game, that should have been won. Many other games that were right there for them to take were there. And a roster that's not as hurt, they'll win those games, I believe.
Definitely. Speaking of the roster, I've asked some people I've had on here. I've had John Chapman on here, at Eric Crocker. I gave everybody kind of like their quiz of what if they could grade the roster on a grading scale, whether it's A through F or 1 through 10, as far as off-season, draft, everything, undrafted free agents, re-signing your own free agents. What would be your grade assessment for the Niners?
Got them at an 8.5 out of 10. Just based on and the things that I'm looking at to improve are two portions, 2 position groups. Not secondary, cornerback and wide receiver. So today, and anybody who's followed me on Twitter, I've been floating the idea of, hey, maybe Jamison Crowder, pops onto the market because the Jets drafted Elijah Moore, and Elijah Moore occupies the same spot in the field that Jamison Crowder does. It almost feels like their skill sets are redundant. because on the outside you'll have Denzel Mims and you'll have Corey Davis with Elijah Moore, who, from all accounts, us being here in New York on this side, Elijah Moore has been the most impressive player in camp for them, hands down, including Zach Wilson. It's literally being written by the beat writer. So I wanted Jamison Crowder. Unfortunately, we found out today.
Yep.
Took his pay cut. Makes sense. Probably, if any pay cut that he got is probably going to be more than he would have got on the open market. So
right.
Agree with that 100%. But I really want one more solid name. When I throw names out there, I'm not throwing names out there to say this is what's going to put the 49ers over the top. I want to solidify this wide receiver 3, which when everything is going well isn't as vital because the 49ers don't run 3 wide receiver sets. Their 3 pass catchers are going to be Debo, Kittle, and Ayuk. And that's how they'll deploy any sort of 3 wide receiver sets. But
right.
Kendrick Bourne is going to be massively missed. And the reason that I say that is he played a ton when Ayuk went down, when Debo went down, and he was just so solid. Can you point to anyone on this roster that you feel safe that can fit in where Kendrick Bourne was? I know Mohamed Sanu is doing very well. Right. I know Mohamed Sanu is doing very well. I know that they have high hopes for Jalen Hurd, who they're not going to cut ties with because he's a 3rd-round pick. Richie James is flashed at times. Jawan Jennings was a 6th-round pick who I thought was going to be a contributor. Austin Watkins, who I loved when we got a chance to look at him in Mobile. And when you get to understand his story, he's an incredibly hard worker. At the same time, while you want to see one of those guys succeed, I would love to see a guy on this roster who has recently contributed in this league, recently been solid. And that's what I'm talking about. Like Golden Tate, D.D. Westbrook, those guys. They're not going to be relied on to be anything more than a solid depth piece in case things go wrong. And that's really what I'm hanging my hat on. I'm not big on what I can predict. Give me a track record of somebody, and then I'll go from there. And these are guys who have succeeded at the NFL level. So I think it's wide receiver and cornerback for me. But this roster, 8.5 out of 10, deepest quarterback room in the league. Offensive line has been massively upgraded. Defensive line is going to be an amazing. I think that's the part that people are not remembering or they're not focused on. Hurst, Kerr, Ford, Armstead, Kinlaw, Bosa. This is going to be an amazing rotation. And I think Ebukam, this is going to be an amazing rotation. And I think that they're super deep there as well. So if I had 2 areas of concern, wouldn't be secondary. It would really just be corner and it would be wide receiver for me.
Yeah, that was one of my questions, actually. We kind of touched on it is corner and wide receiver, kind of my biggest concerns as far as I feel like corner we're like one injury away from being really kind of shaky.
Ooh, Jason Verrett injury.
Right. You're one Jason Verrett, pulled hamstring or popped hammy or something. I shouldn't say it, knock on wood, but it is what it is. He's got a track record of not being real healthy. So hopefully he's cured his I don't know what he had to do, but if he goes down, it's definitely concerning. Yeah, I hope Ambry Thomas is really what a lot of people are saying he could be. So it's and then the wide receiver, the number 3, like you said, you want someone who's been there and done that. There's just there's a question mark there. I mean, Jalen Hurd. That was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Is what's your realistic expectation? Me, I have no expectation because he's been injured his first 2 years. He got hurt on a side field last year doing side field stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Like no one touched him, and that's concerning. Right. No knock on him. I have I'm not an athlete. I could never do half the things these guys could do. I'm just talking from purely like a fan and someone who has a YouTube channel. Like when you get hurt without being touched, man, that's scary. It's like your genetics can they keep up with football? Like hopefully he can do it this year, man. I'd be awesome if he was if he was able to do something. Jawan Jennings too. It's all a big question mark.
The thing about Jalen Hurd is that there's a track record of him being injured from high school straight through. And that's the thing. So I think you nailed it. What are the expectations of Jalen Hurd? Nothing. But if he gives you something, then now you're playing with an ultimate chess piece. Remember, he was a running back at Tennessee. He got replaced by a guy named Alvin Kamara. You guys know him? And then he transferred to Baylor and he moved to wide receiver. So he's an ultimate chess piece. And again, Kyle Shanahan loves positionless football. That's exactly what they were thinking. I'm going to give you my comp, and I'm sure you probably heard me say it on many shows. What I see for Jalen Hurts, if they're able to unlock what they can with him, is Chase Claypool. In that same way, where Chase Claypool is coming around on jet sweeps, hitting him with the little touch pass, and having him, because he is a running back, he understands how to move with the ball in his hands. He's a big guy, a red zone threat. Every time I see Chase Claypool catch a touchdown, I always think, man, that should have been Jalen Hurts. That's what they're looking for, and that's what he can bring to this offense. So Jalen Hurts is this wild card X factor. If he's able to contribute in the way that they want him to, this offense becomes damn near impossible to stop. But the injury concerns, that's why my expectations are 0. And if he gives you anything, then you should be happy. If he gives you one game, you should be happy.
And the same with D Ford too.
Same thing, same exact thing. You took the words right out of my mouth. Absolutely.
You're closer to Grant than a lot of us are, and he was talking about his observations with Trey Lance in his second go around in camp, and how he vastly improved. From the first go around of OTAs to, he just looked a lot better in 11. I don't know, was it 11 on 11, 7 on 7? I forget, but like, he just looked a lot better. What do you make of all that? Do you really put a lot of stock in OTAs? Or are you one of those people that really just kind of hunkers down when training camp starts, and really that's when you start kind of really seeing if someone has it or not?
OTAs are important for a guy like Trey. And it's no surprise to me that Trey took a jump from, I guess, the first time that he was seen by the media to the second. Because, look, I made no bones about it. Who I wanted at 3, Justin Fields. But I understand what Kyle Shanahan sees in Trey Lance in terms of his mind. So it's no surprise to me that he's able to pick this up. I think OTAs are vital for a young quarterback, especially somebody at the number 3 pick, because apparently he went through the entire install. And that means you've thrown everything at this kid right now, and he's handled it. All that other stuff, accuracy, whatever, you keep working on that in camp. What you really need to understand is the processing, and you need to understand where the ball's supposed to go. And apparently there was a play where Trey Lance, on the third read, it was the last read, while he was rolling out, hit George Kittle down the sideline on a throw that we haven't seen in a long time from anybody. And I'm not trying to pick on Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm talking about like down the line too, even before him, that we haven't seen in a long time. So I'm not shocked. I really am. I'm really not. And the thing is, do I put a lot of stock in the OTAs in this situation? Yes. And it can't be for everybody, because OTAs mean whatever they mean for other people, and it's fine. That doesn't really change the way you view them. But for me, it was vital for Trey Lance to understand the install and already get past those growing pains and start to understand more of this offense, because it is a complicated offense when you're given the whole playbook. But that hasn't been there for the quarterbacks that have been there, and that's just based on whatever, limitations, stuff like that. That's a whole other subject. But in terms of Trey Lance at OTAs, yes, I put a lot of stock into it, and it was vital for him to get off on the right foot. And I'm super excited to hear that he's been taking that step. Because honestly, like you said, I'm closer to Grant. Grant will give it to you straight. If it's not going good, he's going to tell you that it's not going good. Whether you want to say, hey, I don't trust his eye, whatever, that's up to you. I do, because I understand that he doesn't sugarcoat things. That's not his thing. And some
he's
people
not coming at
it
it from a fan perspective.
Not at all. And I honestly, none of us should be while we're doing this. Yes, we're fans of the team. I love this team. But when I want to be objective, if I'm trying to get to a spot where I'm an analyst, then you've got to be objective, and you've got to take those feelings out of it. So, yeah, I put a lot of stock into what he said. I believe him, and I do believe that Trey Lance, the mind was the thing that put him over the top, besides the obvious physical gifts to be a 3. I think it was the mind. When Kyle got a chance to pick his brain, he starts to realize, okay, this kid can pick things up fast. I don't have to dial back the playbook. I don't have to dial back any of the calls. Because if you ever listen to a Kyle Shanahan play call, probably takes about 4 or 5 seconds to run through all of the verbiage. And that's it. He's run the concepts. Yeah, he's run the concepts. He understands them all. Those are fine. But running that play call, X-wing 21, 45, like it takes a while for you to get through all those words. So for you to understand all that, that's the part that you needed to see. And it sounds like, by all accounts, that he's got it.
Are you good with the way they're handling him right now? I mean, are you one of those people that would rather have him sit all year, or are you of the mindset that we should use him in some sort of like third quarter if we're up 21-3, you put him in for 2 series or something? Or how do you? What's your, just as a person who covers the Niners, or as a fan, like how would you deal with the kid,
So I think
young
that,
man?
yeah, definitely. Well, he is a kid. It's so crazy
To me, he
for
is.
me to
I'm
hear.
41, so
Right. I'm 36. For me to hear that the kid turned 21 just a long ago, I was like, my goodness, he is a kid. He absolutely is. But I, I'm not getting this from anybody. There's no sort of insight that I have from inside the building, but I believe that there will be some sort of package very, very comparable to how Harbaugh deployed Kaepernick in the beginning with Alex Smith, where in the red zone, they'll just run a jet sweep with Trey and get him into the end zone and things like that. So I think that that's going to be there. That'll be there. As far as how they're handling him, I predicted right after the trade up that Jimmy Garoppolo was still going to be the quarterback. And by all accounts, I think that this is what it's going to be. I really do. By all accounts, I think that it is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. Here's the part that I can't put my finger on, or I guess the part that is hard for me to understand. Trey Lance didn't play last year. Trey Lance might not play this year. I understand the idea of, hey, give him time to learn, give him time to run the playbook. I get afraid that 2 years away from contact football might be negative on him. Now, am I saying
definitely.
that that's what's and that's am I saying that that's what's going to happen? No, but you have to have that concern in your mind. I am sort of the mind that I would love to see him kind of learn on the go, but I trust this regime right now because I think that they understand that this is their shot. They have to make Trey Lance work. Now, whether that happens next year, this year, whatever, Kyle Shanahan's got his guy. Finally, they moved all these assets to get up to 3. Clock's on now. You got to make it work. So if he can
That's
make it
right.
work, with Trey Lance sitting 1 year, fine. I do grow concerned with how long Trey hasn't played, and that's the part
Right.
that worries me a little bit. But I'm gonna trust them because clearly they had a plan. Seems like it was Trey Lance the entire time, so it wasn't something that they just found out. Even though Mike Florio was trying to tell you that we found out that, or was it we bullied them out of Mac Jones into Trey Lance, right? Or
It was.
we
I think it might have been Lombardi that said that too.
yeah, yeah.
He
So
was like hard up on the fact that he said that, like, don't let anybody fool you. It was Mac Jones all along, and the Niners got scared or something. I'm like, whatever, dude.
I mean, honestly, if they were listening to us, that's a whole other issue. Even if I have
That's a
an issue with
problem.
if I have an issue with you taking Mac Jones, that's one thing. I have a whole other issue with you listening to fans, and that I would be super concerned if that's the case. But I don't think that was the case. From all accounts, it sounds like it was Trey Lance. So I think they have a plan for him. I'm going to trust their plan because they got to make this one work. This is Kyle Shanahan's time. This is the first time he's ever had his guy. Remember, RG3 wasn't his guy. That was Dan Snyder. And he grafted his playbook to him, and RG3 what? Offensive Rookie of the Year. So now he's got his guy based on gifts, based on mine. So he's got to make it work. I'm going to trust their process, and I think that they're doing it the right way. Because if Jimmy Garoppolo plays well, guess what? This team wins games, and he boosts his trade value because he's not going to be here for too much longer, no matter how long you think that
That's
is.
right.
So it's a win-win.
That's right. Thing with Jimmy too, or the thing with I totally lost my train of thought. I just think that there is a window, and hopefully, and I'm going to be real positive this year. I'm going to say the
Yeah.
Niners made the right choice, a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that they took a shot. They put their cards in the middle of the table, but you know, being the type of cynical fan that I am, because I've been a fan a long time.
Uh-huh.
My nephew's the same way. Someone will fall on the sword if this doesn't work. If we have another injury riddled year and the quarterback situation kind of goes, poo poo. My question is to you: who would fall on the sword? Would it be a trainer? Would it be John Lynch, or would nobody and they would get another pass at it?
So I really
I hate to
believe
be negative.
no, you're good. I really believe that Kyle Shanahan's here to stay. And I think it has less to do with what Jed York thinks and more about his parents. His parents love Kyle. They're going to be fine with Kyle. I think that if there's anybody who is on any sort of hot seat, let's just say, or if, let's say you put a gun in my head and you said, hey, look, the 49ers went 0-17 this year. one of these two people have to go, I think it's John Lynch before it is Kyle. That's it. And it's not because John Lynch did anything wrong. I don't think that John Lynch is doing a bad job. I think that he's perfect in the role that he's in because he's so great with the media. So great. And he has great connections at Fox Sports and being able to leak things to them so they can go ahead and put out whatever it is that they want because the 49ers fooled everybody through this draft process.
Mm-hmm.
But if of the two, if you ask me, it would probably be John Lynch, who has more of a shot at being moved than Kyle Shanahan. I don't think Kyle Shanahan is going anywhere unless he really, really does something detrimental, like go crazy in the front office or, you know, absolutely go 0-17 and they have like a putrid offense or something like that. None of that stuff is going to happen. So it would take something really extreme in my eyes for Kyle Shanahan to go. So if you ask me between the two, I think John Lynch has a better shot to go than Kyle Shanahan. And it's not because I'm like president of the Only Shans Club or anything like that. I just think that when you watch how they move, and I think the parents have a lot more influence than you believe on Jed York.
The thing I love about Shanahan is if he could hold the hand of a guy like Garoppolo or Mullins, and who both have limited physical abilities, just thinking about the possibilities with the young man, who's 6'4", 225, 230 pounds with a rocket arm, super athletic and smart. You know, the one thing about Kaepernick, he had a really good arm. He was really athletic, but upstairs, he questioned whether he, you know, did he study enough or was he, you know, a student of the game? And, you know, I'm not trying to crap on Kaepernick. I'm just saying you don't have those questions with Trey Lance. My thing is if he can make it work with, or if he could somewhat make it work. I mean, we still lost last year. I think the sky's the limit for the young man, and you could construct an offense that grows as the season grows if he ended up having to play, like where you have a certain amount of plays ready for him, and then little by little you start adding more to it. I'm really excited. I hope nobody's on the hot seat. I hope nobody falls on the sword, man.
Right.
So man, I'm still
I like
heartbroken over. I like the regime too because they take chances. They've missed on some. They've made some bad trades, like with D Ford and Weston Richburg and all that, signing him, but they've also made some great draft picks with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw and George Kittle and Trey Lance and Nick Bosa and, you know, all these other guys. So I'm very cynical. It's hard for me sometimes to be positive, but there is things positive about this regime that I really love. So I wanted to ask you about this ding. They said the Niners got dinged for something, illegal practice, something. It was from Tom Pelissero. I don't understand what exactly it was. I don't know if you have any more insight on that. What exactly did they get in trouble for?
So part of the CBA, when you talk about rookie minicamps, is that there's no press coverage, no bump and run, any sort of drill, anything like that, one-on-one, okay? So the infraction came from the Deommodore Lenoir's video of him clamping on Austin Watkins and making an interception. Here's the interesting part. Now let's have some fun. So Guy Haberman and John Middlecoff, big fans of those guys. I love Guy Haberman. That's my dude. They were talking, and Middlecoff was talking about he had a source that's placed in the league or something that he believes, something to that effect. The Seattle Seahawks have been fined for the same sort of infraction, the same exact one, about no sort of touching, anything like that when you're doing your drills. So the video comes out on social media, and then he has an idea that it was Pete Carroll who got on the phone and said, hey, look at this. Look what's going on with them. Docked them their last week. So so here's what's funny about it. They got docked a week of rookie development, I believe it's called. Basically what that is it's no sort of physical activity. It's more about acclimating rookies to the NFL lifestyle. How you should move when you go outside, who you should be around, decisions you should make. Because remember, these are kids, and they're about to be amazingly wealthy really fast. And that sort of thing is something that you really need to watch on. And that's all part of the process about how you going in their background, figuring out what they're about. So realistically, what they lost, okay, they didn't really lose much. But if we have our tinfoil hats on, It was Seattle because they had been fined for the same exact infraction years and years ago, and Pete Carroll immediately dropped the dime on them. Here's the thing too, is here's how you know it was an issue. Lenore posted it and deleted it almost right away. So it seems like the front office got wind of it and said, "Don't do that. Stop." And again, the kid didn't know because it looked like nothing. That looked like just good old football. Like it looked like a good old drill. That was it. Nobody got hurt, anything like that. But in an effort for player safety, they have outlawed the bump and run stuff, any sort of or those drills and rookie mini camps. So that's really where the infraction comes from. But it's really fun to think about the idea of Pete Carroll calling up the office and saying, "Hey, look what they're doing over here. Make sure you go get them." So I mean, it would just add more fuel to the rivalry, if you ask me.
Well, he's a big crybaby, anyways.
I agree.
Him and the coach of the Saints. I don't know who's worse.
Yeah, they still keep talking about refs calls. That's all he ever talks about. I feel like every press conference.
How about just talk about the fact that you've had so many good teams and so many runs, and you've only got one championship. Not that that's bad. Just maybe you should blame yourself and the people in your own organization. But whatever.
Also, that championship was won under Bountygate. Brett Favre and that Vikings team was better than them, and we all know how that game ended. So that's another thing to think about when you talk about the Saints. You have to put that context to it. They hurt Brett Favre. He kept playing in the game and still, unfortunately couldn't get it done. But they're not in that game if Brett Favre doesn't get injured. The Vikings were much better than them that year. So,
what's I wanted to touch base on the Fred Warner contract situation. There's a lot of talk going on. Some people are saying it's not a big deal. Some people are saying it's, get it done before. Trying to think of the linebacker who they kind of keep associating Fred Warner with as far as like comparable player and deal.
Darius Leonard.
Yeah. I'm of the mindset that things are going to work themselves out, kind of like with the Kittle deal. I don't think he's going anywhere. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, it could be like a DeForest Buckner situation, but I can't see them. I just can't. He's so good, and he doesn't get hurt. And I just think he's such an important in a very important part of this defense. What do you think is what's your realistic idea as far as if it's going to be something that's going to be done now? Could they wait till the end of the season, into next offseason? What do you think?
I think they're waiting to see numbers on Darius Leonard so they can have a starting point to talk about that. Makes 100% sense because agents want to get the best deal for their players, and why wouldn't Fred Warner want to make more money than Darius Leonard? I believe he's better than Darius Leonard. Many people are of the mind that he's the best linebacker in football, but I don't really think it's anything to be concerned about. He was the only player during OTAs that played every single snap, everything. And Fred Warner could walk in and say, "I'm not doing any of that stuff. Like, I'll work on the side. I'll mess around." No, Fred doesn't seem concerned. I don't think this is a DeForest Buckner situation. Think about who they just promoted as their defensive coordinator, a former linebacker. Right. There's no way that they're not going to get this done, and there's no way that they're going to let the quarterback of their defense go when this is – if you thought Fred Warner was great last year, wait till you see what DeMeco Ryans has him doing now that he's a linebacker. He's going to put him in spots to be absolutely dominant. If there was any discussion about anybody else being ahead of Fred Warner as a linebacker, I guarantee you this year, fully healthy, it's going to be squashed. And no one's going to be able to have any sort of argument against Fred Warner. So I think this gets done whenever it gets done. Fred doesn't seem concerned about it, but absolutely his team is waiting for Darius Leonard's numbers to come out before they can go ahead and talk to the team. And why shouldn't he? If he's a player who is in your tier, because I believe Darius Leonard is one of the best linebackers in football. That's not in any way me putting him down because I know how good that kid is. But he's better than Darius Leonard in my mind. So why wouldn't you wait for those numbers to come out before you go to the table? Because that's your starting point. So I think everything's going to be fine. It's definitely going to work itself out. This does not feel like a DeForest Buckner situation for me at all, especially when you consider he could just pull up to OTAs and say, "I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to work on the side." But he's playing every single down. He's a leader of this team. The team believes in him. He's like the heart of this team. If George Kittle's the heart on the offense, Fred Warner's the heart on the defense. And I could probably make the argument that Fred is the heart of this team. Absolutely.
Yes.
Nobody works harder. Nobody does
Nope.
more than Fred, and there's no way they're going to let him walk. So
I mean, you got the biggest endorsement from Aaron Rodgers, who I love. He's one of my favorite players of all time. And when he tells that, when someone like him says you're the best, or you're the best at your position, or whatever it is that he told him, I hold that with very, that's like, that means a lot to me. That holds a lot of water. So you made the mention of D'Amico Ryans, and I was going to ask you, one of my questions I got is expectations. I know he's a little bit more of a blitzing type scheme. I think he's more man. Is it more man to man that he's going to be going with? Less cover three.
So last year you kind of saw a philosophical shift from straight up cover three to a lot more man and quarters. And it coincided with how well Akello Weatherspoon played at the end of the year. And also Robert Saleh had to find any way he could to try to get pressure on the quarterback. I still am of the mind that Robert Saleh's job last year was his best coaching job, including 2019. I'm sorry. Robert Saleh had to find ways to generate pressure. He didn't have Nick Bosa and D Ford wrecking everything. So it's definitely going to be a lot more blitzing, and it's going to be a lot more aggressive. And I'll tell you what tipped me off to it before he even said it in the press conference: the way that they drafted. You draft Ambry Thomas, who profiles as a man-to-man guy. You draft, a bunch of guys that will play press man. And when you hear Jaquiski Tartt in his introductory press conference after he signed his one-year deal say, "I hope D'Amico blitzes me 12 times a game," he's not pulling that from the air. They had meetings, they talked. He understands how they're going to use him. So yes, you'll definitely see a lot more aggressiveness as far as blitzing. They're not just going to send their four and drop everybody. That you're definitely going to see way more man, because you saw it last year happen. It was this team almost exclusively turned from straight cover cover three to man and quarters. So what are my expectations for D'Amico? I expect some growing pains in the way of, yes, the scheme is going to be solid, very easy and simple. He understands that he's played defense, but having players who understand the scheme, you understanding the scheme, and being able to dial up the right play call at the right time, that's where you'll see some of the growing pains. Another thing that you have to give credit to Robert Saleh to. I don't know if there's anybody else, maybe someone can refresh my memory, that has started off with such a low opinion of him, right? Like, everyone's opinion of Robert Saleh was very low when he first started. Oh my God, what is this guy doing? Right, yeah, what is this guy doing? He doesn't know what he's doing. Have you ever seen a coach just continue to grow, get better, until the point where now he's a head coach? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing someone. But Robert Saleh's trajectory to being the Jets head coach is a fascinating one, because when he first started, nobody wanted him here. He doesn't make adjustments. He doesn't know what he's doing here and this and that. You got to think that D'Amico Ryans is going to ascend, not in a similar fashion, because I don't think D'Amico Ryans is going to be blasted for being, oh my God, what is he doing, or anything like that. The 49ers can take a step back, which I fully think they are on defense, regress, and still be a top 10 defense. That's the best way I can put it. And if the 49ers are a top 10 defense, then it's up to your offense to make up those points that you probably will be giving up while you're regressing, but still being a top 10 unit. So I think D'Amico Ryans is going to be fine, but there definitely will be some growing pains, and there'll definitely be some times where he's learning on the job a little bit.
I thought Robert Saleh was a product of just having really good players. I remember calling into one of Grant's shows, and he was doing kind of like an Instagram Periscope thing. And Grant kind of was like, "Nah, I don't feel that way." And I thought like Grant was going to agree with me. And last year, I remember on my channel, I was still kind of growing. I'm still growing, but I made a video about how I just not a fan of Robert Saleh, this and this and that. I was like super negative about it. And then at the end of the season, I made another video saying, you know what? I got egg in my face. I'm okay with it. I'm totally wrong. This guy, he completely changed my opinion on him. The way he was able to take a team with that many injuries and turn this team into still a top 10 defense without Nick Bosa, without D Ford, without,
Sherman,
other players, Sherman. Yeah. Crazy. And so my opinion completely changed of Robert Saleh. I can't believe I was so hard on him, but again, I'm cynical. So that's just how it is. But I have nothing but love for the guy, Mazel Tov. I hope he does great in New York, man.
Me too. I mean, we're lucky enough that we get to be on this side, and
Yeah.
enjoy his growth. And that's
Yeah.
the best part about this, because this is very much, and this is very much a Giants town, or a Giants side of the country, because they've won Super Bowls. The Jets are almost
I'm actually more in the Bills. I'm actually more in
oh,
Bills
you're all
country
right. So right.
because
You're
I
in
live in
Bills.
yeah.
Right, you're close
Yeah.
to the Bills country. Okay, so for me, being closer to New York City, this is Giants country here. They've won
Yep.
Super Bowls. The Jets are almost the little brother that you're messing with when you go to play. So it would be really good if the 49ers, if the Jets actually started to move in a way where the 49ers regime is basically over there. They're going to be running the same exact scheme. They've got
Yep.
Saleh, they've got LaFleur. They're going to be running those same exact concepts. And also, I would love for the Jets to be the toast of the town now. I really would. It would be really cool, because the Jets have been a punchline for so long. So I think we're lucky enough that we're going to be on this side, and we're going to get to watch how this progresses. He gets Zach Wilson. They drafted one of my favorite players when we were in Mobile. I could not stop gushing over this kid, Michael Carter. We got a chance to talk with his family when we were there for the game. And I love that kid. I love that draft pick. They've got pieces on defense. I love Quinnen Williams. I think he's incredible. As much as I love Nick Bosa. Quinnen Williams is amazing. They've added Lawson. They've got Becton on the offensive line. The Jets are on their way. They're in a good spot, and it's going to be fun to watch Robert Saleh be the head of this, because I feel like when the signing happened, all of the Jets fans that I know in this area, how do you feel? What do you think? I said, congratulations. You got a guy that's going to command the room, and you got a guy that is going to put you in the right direction. How do you look at Robert Saleh on the sidelines and not want to run through a wall for that man? And I think
Right.
that's what the Jets fans are about to find out.
I never found myself during the 2019 season. Again, I used to watch football in my hands and not really get excited because, we were losing all the time. Pumped, like punch in the air, just like getting pumped and like doing all sorts of goofy stuff when Kittle would do his little first down thing. I'm an old man, and I'm like, what am I doing? But I got that enthusiasm from it too. So yeah, good for them. I hope they're not completely bereft of talent on that team. They have pieces. It might be a year, they might be another year or two off, or maybe who knows. I think the Bills are still the class of the AFC East.
Yep.
My brother is a hardcore, lifelong Miami Dolphins fan. So we're Miami Dolphins fan and 49er fan. And, it's kind of weird because we live, like I said, we live in Bills country. So my brother gets a lot of grief.
Oh,
but,
wow. That's a lot, honestly. Bills fans are hardcore. So if it's a division rival,
they're super faithful. They remind me of old Candlestick fans, because I feel like the Santa Clara fans are not as, I don't know. It's just a different class of fan. I know people with a maybe bigger pocketbook. I feel like the Candlestick fans are gritty, kind of like Bills fans, like
right.
Your hardcore old school 49er fans. And they're crazy out here, man. They jump through tables. They get mustard poured all over them. They're insane.
Yeah, they're dunking on people in the parking lot.
Right. Here's my thing. As much as I love my 49ers and I want to see them win the Super Bowl over anybody else, if I had to think of a team that I would love to see finally win one, would probably be the Buffalo Bills.
I am 100% with you on that. If someone said, hey, listen, you can't cover the 49ers anymore. You're done. Your whole career is over. You can't do this over here anymore. You can't. Pick another team. That would be the team that I would pick, just because of those things that you outlined. I mean, honestly, I didn't want to get on here and agree with you this entire time, but everything that you're pretty much saying aligns with what I was thinking. I feel the same exact way. The Bills, if there's a fan base that probably deserves it more than the 49er fans, because obviously I want them to win a Super Bowl, if there's somebody that deserves it after them, it's got to be the Buffalo Bills. It has to be them. And just look at how, when they had a little bit of success last year, that stadium was packed. Anytime. It didn't matter who the quarterback was. Rob Johnson, Tyrod Taylor, it didn't matter.
Always.
That stadium is packed. So now they've got a lot to be excited. Mm-hmm.
And my brother's a Dolphins fan. That's another team, okay? Because my brother's my blood. I love him. Again, if the Niners had if they have another bad season, whatever. If another team I would root for would be them, because they haven't tasted a Super Bowl victory since the 70s, man. They haven't been in one since the year that Montana freaking gave them the L, because no one respected Montana. They thought, Marino was real good, but Joe was better. But anyway,
Marino at that point was like the Mahomes type.
Yeah.
and Joe wasn't viewed in that same way, and he kind of had to set some things straight. Also, real quick, when we
Yeah.
talking about the AFC East, and I know that this is a Niners stream, so we should get back to talking about them, but stop sleeping on the Patriots. Stop sleeping on the
Right.
Patriots at this point.
You're right.
They won 7 games last year, and Cam Newton, who I love, he'll tell you that he didn't play up to his standards and he was injured. There's no way with all those additions and bringing all those guys back from opt-ins that you're just going to write the Patriots off. No chance at
Nope.
all, honestly. So yeah,
Not
the
gonna.
Jets
Not
have
as
their
long
work.
as that coach is their coach.
The Jets have their work cut out for them. So that's a really, really good division. If the NFC West is the best division in football, the AFC East has a really good claim to second best division in football.
Definitely. I wanted to get your idea. That's not the word I'm looking for. I wanted to get your opinion on the possible dropping of the red 94 throwback possibly coming out during that Niners state of the franchise, because I'm going to be getting one of those. I have to. Probably a Fred Warner or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that is the cleanest jersey. And here's the best part. Usually when I jump on these streams, it's usually with younger people, kids who are 21, 25. Like Vish is 21. He doesn't know what 94 was. I remember. You remember?
Me too.
Remember, they started the season and they were wearing their normal jerseys, and they championed the league and said, "Can we wear these the rest of the year?" And for me, I've seen the 49ers be in 3 Super Bowls. They won that one. And it kind of lines up, right? The patch, the 75 patch for the NFL 75th season was on those jerseys. If that's what's going back this year, then there'll be the 75th anniversary of the 49ers on there. And it was the last time that they won a Super Bowl. Those jerseys are so clean. And if I had to, so you said you're going to get a Fred Warner. If I'm going to pick a jersey right now to get, it's going to be a Brandon Ayuk jersey. I'm definitely going to get an 11 with that one. It's too clean. I pray that that's the jersey that comes back. Put it like this. When they drop the white ones, I've got 2 white ones from that year. I've got a Jimmy and I've got a Joe Staley. And I would not hesitate to probably buy 2 or 3 of the red ones. So I'm hoping and praying that that's what it is. The jersey is so
You are a
beautiful.
Jersey guy. I can see.
I am
like your
a little
jerseys.
bit. Oh yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
No. It's funny because it goes in waves. When I was a kid and I was in high school, jerseys would have raved. After that, it kind of died out, and now they're kind of back. So I just just jump right back into it. But yeah, absolutely. With the 49ers, I try to get jerseys of guys that are going to be here for a while. So I have a Bowman, I have a Willis, I have a Cap. Unfortunately, that didn't work. I have a Jimmy. Unfortunately, that's not going to work. Yeah, I have a Kittle and I have a Staley. So Staley's a forever Niner. Kittle, I don't think is going anywhere anytime soon. So I'm doing pretty good. So that's why maybe I'll throw some good juju on Ayuk being a lifelong 49er. So, but yes, man, please make those jerseys happen. I hope that's what they announced at the state of the franchise.
Definitely. My last question for you, and it's an interesting one. I wanted to ask you, how fortunate are we to have a running back coach like Bobby Turner, man?
Huge. And this is the part that people don't understand. Mike McDaniel is now the offensive coordinator. He was the run game specialist. But Bobby Turner is the guy that really gets no sort of credit and love at all. And when they drafted Trey Sermon and Elijah Mitchell, you think they're in great hands right now. And Bobby Turner deserves all the love. I forget what's the name of the award he just won, but Bobby Turner deserves a lot of love, and people never talk about that. And it always gets lost, and all the praise goes to Kyle Shanahan, rightfully so. He's running his offense and everything. But if you listen to the guys who are in that running back room talk, Bobby Turner is their guy. And that's what I'm talking about with coaching and culture. When I mean coaching, I don't just mean Kyle Shanahan. They're grooming coaches for other positions, and they continue. So when one guy goes, they take a bunch of guys. And then you know what the 49ers do? They replace them with guys that they've been cultivating. So it's almost like a baseball team with a farm system. You have your studs, and they move on, but you got guys immediately to replace them. And that's what the 49ers have been doing. That's why I'm so high on this team, regardless of the injuries. They're always going to be in a good spot because of the culture and the coaching. And that's really what you should be looking at when you talk about where this team should be going in 2020. But Bobby Turner absolutely deserves the praise, and he never gets any of it. And it almost gets lost in the shuffle because we heap all the praise on Kyle Shanahan for being a genius.
Right. He was there for Kyle's daddy, too, and they just seem to find running backs wherever, off the street, undrafted, drafted, whatever. He reminds me a lot, Bobby Turner. I can't think of the name. I know you probably be able to remember because you're a Yankees
Mm-hmm.
fan.
Uh-huh.
When the Yankees were winning with Joe Torre, who was the pitching coach that always seemed to right the ship? That would come out to
Mel
the mound.
Stoudemire.
Yes, he is the Mel Stoudemire of this staff. He just
That's
works
good.
his juju, and it's amazing. You can get these, even like a guy like who's the guy we undrafted running back that we had last year that got hurt? Um,
Jermichael Hasty.
Young, huh?
Jermichael Hasty.
Yes. Like even the dude that we ended up losing I don't know if he released or he was part of our cuts that went to the Dolphins and was
Salvan
real good
Ahmed.
last.
Salvan Ahmed.
Yeah, like it's like my brother's like, dude, your team is like a factory with running backs. So I told him, and that's why you never spend high draft capital on running backs, man, because you can find them anywhere. And if you got a good running scheme, you can make average guys or guys that were special teamers like, Mostert. I love Mostert, but I'm just saying.
Mostert,
Insane.
and remember, Mostert was brought in by Chip Kelly. That's not a Shanahan thing. He made that work with him. And I mean, I don't want to push back a little bit, but I'm going to tell you this. When people say, oh, well, you can find them on the street. Yeah, you can. But you don't normally do that. And here's the thing.
Right.
The 49ers have shown you that they value the position. And you know how I know that? They paid Jerick McKinnon an exorbitant amount of money when nobody was going to pay him for that.
True.
Kevin Coleman got paid. They moved up for Sermon. They even drafted Elijah Mitchell. So it's not necessarily that they can just find them on the street, because they can. Matt Breida, his best years were with the 49ers. Mostert was a special teamer, like you said. I think it's that they try to find the best possible fits, and they value the position a lot because they want to run the ball. See, that's the thing about Kyle. I love Kyle's passing offense, but I think what I really get excited about is the running offense. The rushing offense is it's not simple, it's not complicated. It's just a thing of beauty, the way he creates the angles with Kyle Juszczyk, and that's why fullback is so important. So
Absolutely.
I agree with you. You can find guys off the street to get it done, but I think that they value the position a little bit more based off of their actions. They gave Jerick McKinnon all that money, and nobody was going to give him anything near that amount of money. So they clearly have an idea of what they want to do. So if they have to pay up a little bit to get it done, they will. But I just think that they very much value the position because of how the offense, anybody who's put in there basically is going to run the ball well. Jeff Wilson was amazing at the end of the year.
I love Jeff Wilson.
Right, me too. I really thought that he was going to – it was so unfortunate about his injury. I really thought that he was going to take over this backfield at least this year. So, for at least a little while in the beginning. Like almost like, Kyle Shanahan's very much like a boxer. Jab, jab, jab until it's time to hit you with that haymaker. And that haymaker is usually Raheem Mostert on a 60-yard run on the outside zone after – you let Tevin Coleman beat up the defense in the middle of the field and then you hit with those. So, yeah, I think that they value the position. I agree that they've hit on people off the street. I just don't know if that's their full philosophy because of what they've shown you.
No, you're definitely right. I guess I should change what I'm saying to they're not afraid to go in, get guys off the street or undrafted players. But, yeah, you're right. They have invested some capital into the running back room. I just think that the scheme itself, coaching staff, I just feel like it's a scheme that you can be successful in, even if you're not a highly, maybe a guy that was drafted highly. So, but yeah, I don't want to like take it away, like saying that they just put a bum back there. You got to have some athletic ability in order to run in the NFL. You nailed it. You're like a machine with these questions, man. I just ask them and you smile. Anything you want to add? People were like, again, were they anything you're doing recently or that's coming on your channel that you want to talk about?
So I just want to say thank you again for having me on. I try to be as accessible as I can to anybody because, like I talked about it in the video that JB asked me for a question about, being accessible to other content creators and trying to lend a helping hand, because that's what I would have wanted from people who are more experienced in this. So it's no problem. I'm always honored when people ask me, and I really appreciate the kind words about, hey, being a machine and stuff like that. I mean, right now, I've just been lucky enough, even during this horrible time for the world during a pandemic, to be able to sit and focus in on something, and it just happened to be this. So it's really hard to be excited about something when the world has been going through something so terrible. But the facts are the facts, and if that would have never happened, I would have been just a guy working that job and just, rarely been doing this. But As far as anything that I've got coming up, Sprint Right Options back this week. We'll be doing a show on Wednesday. I think I have a something on my channel coming up. I don't know if you guys know Rob Stats Guerrera, a few other people we're gonna have on there. We're gonna do our worst takes. So everybody always wants to rush and tell you about how they got things right, even myself included. We love victory laps because people always give you crap for your predictions and things like that. But this one I think is going to be a lot of fun, where we're going to point out where our mistakes were, and I'll give you one of mine. Last year before the draft started, I was working my job, and I started writing for 49ers Web Zone. Shout out to them. Shout out to David, because
Nice.
he was the first person who ever gave me a shot to write any articles. One of my first articles for them that was really in depth was about who I thought the 49ers should take with their draft pick. And you know who I wanted them to take? Henry Ruggs. Now think about when you look at all the players that really came out and played well, how bad that probably looks right now. So I think it's going to be fun for us to jump on this podcast, talk about our misses, what was our thought process at the time. So that's kind of what I got going on. But if anybody wants to reach me or anything like that, Twitter's always the easiest place to reach me, at Jason Aponte 2103. And my YouTube channel is just Jason Aponte. And I'd love to hear from people, because you guys give a lot of good constructive criticisms as far as, hey, I'd like to see this. And if we're not creating content for the people, then what are we creating it for? You shouldn't be worried about other content creators caring how you work. You should be worried about the audience and how they move. So that's the best advice I could probably give anybody. But yeah, that's all I got really going on. And thank you again, Aaron, for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun, especially coming from somebody who's an East Coast 49er fan like me, since we're not allowed, apparently.
Yeah, right. I just want to say that you, John Chapman, Eric Crocker, Larry Kruger, Brian Peacock, I reached out to all you guys with, just to, hope and a prayer that I might get a response. I've been trying to grow my own situation here, but I also like having on really good guests who have their own platform. I just like picking the brain of really smart 49er fans, and everybody's been super supportive and easy to deal with. Like sometimes, like you put a message out there and you don't get a response, and it's like, or like you said, I'm not trying to make this a competition. Of course there's better content creators than me. That's okay.
Well, not better. I would say different. Don't ever look at it like better, because then in that way you're putting yourself down. And also, I just want to be one of those people that is very accessible in that way, because looking back at, and this is the thing this is the advice I'll give you or anybody that's listening to this. It may not seem like things are going your way in the beginning, right? Things are slow, things aren't moving, but the more you work, the more people see you work, the more that you put in, people will gravitate towards that. And me, I could have never, a year ago or so, I could have never have seen myself having people actually reach out to me and want me to be on their show and actually care about what I have to say. So things can change very quickly. You just have to keep your head down and work, and you just have to block out the noise. There's going to be those thoughts in your mind of, man, am I doing this the right way? Why isn't this growing the way that you want? Slow grind is the best grind for me, because you get to see the progress. Right. And that's what I would say, is just continue to do what you're doing. And just continue to reach out. Building your platform and talking to other people is always going to be the best way to do it. That really helped me out, being able to get Akash and like you said, Croc and all these guys that when I first joined Twitter, I looked up to. I looked at and said, hey, look at these guys. And then it became a little while after they see me put in the work, you're a peer now. And that's where it can be for you. So that's the best advice I can give you, Aaron. Put your head down and keep working, and continue to reach out to people, and just and keep working. Any sort of advice that you need, don't hesitate to hit me up or anything like that. But I think that when people see the work, when people see your drive, that's what they get drawn to. People don't like the fast grind. If it happens too fast, that's when you lose it fast. But when you get it slow, you appreciate it, and it's built to last, because those people stick with you.
I have a man in the comments here who has his own YouTube channel. He doesn't have a lot. I don't know if he has a social media. He doesn't really have any. He just wanted me to let you know his name is 49ers Ultimate Report. He has his own YouTube channel. If there's a possible way you guys can get in contact, I think he would love to have you on as well.
Reach out. I mean, if you can on Twitter. I mean, I don't know. There's no messages on YouTube or anything like that, right? I don't know how that works.
I think it would probably have to be via like Gmail or something.
Hey, I mean, reach out. If you look for anybody out there who, let's say you don't have Twitter, I'll put this out there. You can email me, Jason 49ers 2103 at gmail.com if you want to send in an inquiry. And I absolutely would love to jump on anybody's show and help anybody else out and give them any sort of insight. So yeah, no problem.
Appreciate that, man. I appreciate you coming on. Definitely going to keep up on your stuff, Grant, Vish. I'm actually having Vish on Wednesday.
That's gonna be your highest rated show. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee that.
You know what it is? I'm blowing it all on all these great guests, and by the time the season comes, no one's going to be watching anymore because I'm going to have.
Aaron,
no,
honestly,
I'm just playing.
No, you're doing the right thing, honestly, because you build these relationships now, and then when the season comes, you can call back on these people, and you'll have a lot more to talk about. So you're doing it the absolute right way. Like I said,
Definitely.
this is the slow time. So right now, there has to
is.
You have to put the building blocks together. You have to build these relationships. So when after week one, hey Croc, can you jump on my show and talk about what you saw on this and this? You already built that relationship. So you're doing it the absolute right way, Aaron. It's not going to happen fast, but it shouldn't happen fast because that's the way you appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate you coming on, man. God bless. Much health to you. And hopefully we'll do this again and sometime in the future. And I'll see you on the flip side, brother.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Thank you guys. And thank you, Aaron, man. I really appreciate it, man. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
All right, you too.